everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, and today I am continuing to clean up summer beds and get them replanted for the winter season. Now, I've started off with collecting zinnia seeds, and I wanted to show you, I've also got a lot of peanuts growing, particularly in this bed here. Now, so far, I'm kind of disappointed with my peanut harvest. This year, I went with 3 different varieties of heirloom peanuts, and well, kind of as predicted, the harvest has been significantly less than what I'm used to. In past years, I've used a modern variety of peanuts. That's actually what they grow commercially in the fields around me. And the yields are significantly higher. On these 3 heirloom varieties, you know, it's only a few peanut pods per plant. So, I'm not going to have a lot of peanuts to eat. I'm certainly not going to have any peanuts to share as holiday gifts this year, but it's still a good experience, and one that's also just a good reminder to myself that though I love the heritage and the stories behind heirloom varieties, there's a reason that they aren't in modern day commercial production, and it's basically because of their lower yields, lack of disease and insect resistance, just generally kind of underperforming. And I'd say as a horticulturalist, want to embrace science, and I'm never going to be afraid of trying new varieties, simply because I think the path to the future is in science. I'm simply making this statement to raise awareness that modern varieties are often more practical because you get a better harvest, and peanuts are my prime example of that this year. So what I'm going to be doing here is actually a bunch of different things. Got everything to clear out. We've got more peanuts to harvest. We have a bunch of sweet potatoes to dig. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we've got a relatively good harvest, because I'd like to serve these on Thanksgiving. And then once I get everything cleaned out and sort of raked away, we're going to do an intensive seeding project here. So I hope you'll stay tuned for my progress. All right, first impressions of getting this one section of the back porch cleared. First of all, I just need a runner here to haul my wheelbarrow back and forth so I can keep pulling and I don't have to stop. Second, it is epically dry. Like, this may be the driest we've ever been going into fall. Have no fear, Central North Carolina. I've been planning David's birthday party for Saturday, and it's going to rain. So you're welcome. I have planned an event. We will be getting rain, but not until the weekend. And so before I get anything planted in here, I'm going to rake this out and water it deeply. Realistically, I'm not going to plant till tomorrow because it's so dry. It would be a detriment to get seeds put in with the soil with as dry as it is. It's just like dust. It's crazy. Third impression, don't ever, under any circumstance, plant Job's tears. So you can see it sets a lot of seeds each plant. This is year 3 for me, and it's seeding everywhere. And not only does it seed everywhere, but here in zone 7, it's actually root hardy. So you can end up getting relatively large clumps that perennialize and set even more seeds. So I seriously regret planting this. I'm giving you the heads up to don't plant it. Don't get tempted. Unless you're actually growing it and harvesting the seeds to make beads out of for jewelry, there's really no purpose for it at all. It doesn't benefit pollinators because it's in the Poaceae family. You don't eat it, and it's invasive. So there's my take on Job's tears. Stay away from it. All right, so I am basically going to just get this bed kind of raked out and cleaned. I'll show you so far the sweet potatoes that I've harvested. It's not a ton, but they are nice sized. And I bet once I get raking, I'll uncover more tubers. This is just what pulled out from the vines. And then I have a pile of peanuts to go through over here. I'm just taking the peanuts off of the plant and putting them into here. And then I'll be able to cure the nuts by just keeping them outside in the sun on the warm days. Same thing with the sweet potatoes. I'm not gonna wash those. Just gonna put them in a large vessel and basically keep them on the back porch for the next 5 days or so, and then they'll be cured and ready to be eaten. And as I mentioned earlier, my plan with these Treasure Island sweet potatoes is to serve them on Thanksgiving. And I have a whole lot more to harvest, so I think it'll be a delicious holiday. Well, you can see here, I pulled all the garlic. This is all garlic that I missed harvesting last spring that has started to regrow. So I've got that staged here. That'll get transplanted in along the edge. It's all cleared out, and now I just need to rake over it and basically make it look neat and tidy, ready to be seeded. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and water everything really thoroughly, both this bed and the feed tank bed that I planted yesterday, because again, it is so dry. The ground is really just like powder, and as I'm watering, it's so hydrophobic, it's just rolling off. But have no fear, it's supposed to rain this weekend. But I'll definitely catch back up with you tomorrow once I've gotten this ground somewhat moistened so that I can do the seeding application. All right, it's the next day. I've watered this bed thoroughly. It's still incredibly dry, but of course, rain is in the forecast for this weekend. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the seeds sown. So I have a bunch of seed that more than what can fit in this space, but I'm gonna do a mix of a bunch of things. So first of all, for the feed tank back there, I've decided I'm gonna go ahead and do the sweet blue lupin. And this is sort of a new to me seed. It's something I got from Hancock, which is one of my favorite seed suppliers out of North Florida. And I think my plan for this is I'm actually gonna soak it for probably an hour in hot tap water before I sow the seed. So the other things that I want to put in, I definitely want to do some of the spicy mixed greens. And this is one that has kale, mustard, and rapeseed. So this is more for allowing it to flower, but you can also harvest the greens throughout the winter. I also have the classic Breeze Spring Cottage Garden Mix. And this has a lot of different things, including carrots, nigella, larkspur, I think California poppies, pephaver, Reese, the sort of mid-level. And then I've also got the traditional poppies, the breadseed poppies, pephaver somniferum. I also have cilantro, which I think is actually included in the spring cottage garden mix. And I think just to do a little bit of a nitrogen fixer, I'm going to do the white cloud crimson clover. Now, I'm only going to be using a tiny percentage of each of these packets in this space. And I'm going to basically continue this same plant palette in the bed over there. And then as I make my way around the garden, I'll just be pulling from these packs. This is gonna be enough to do a lot of square footage, probably somewhere around 1,500 square feet. You know, each one of these beds individually is much smaller than that. And so that's kind of the point of showing you how far one of my seed packets goes so that you can understand that you could probably do it in many different beds throughout your garden. It's not like a one and done kind of situation because I like to sell robust seed packs. So as usual, the seeding process is really anticlimactic. I can't figure out how to make it seem more dramatic than it is. I'm literally just going to be scattering the seeds on the surface. I'm going to rake them over, and then the very last thing that I will do is put out the bread seed poppies because they germinate best in areas with light. So they want to be right on the surface. So once you sow those poppy seeds, that's it. You don't really interact with the bed at all. And Really, I think that germination, because it's so mild, and as long as I can keep the beds wet, I am sure there will be seeds germinating in time for the seed sale and demonstration that we're hosting on Saturday, November 18th and Sunday, November 19th from 2 to 4 p.m. Remember, that is a free, no registration, rain or shine event. We're going to be hosting the seed sale in the Airbnb house, so even if it's raining cats and dogs, we will still be here to greet everyone and hopefully be able to provide hands-on learning experiences so everyone will feel confident in their ability to create beautiful spring flowering cottage garden displays. Now, before I sow the poppies, I'm going to go ahead and get all of this garlic transplanted along the edge. Now, this is garlic that I missed harvesting last spring, went dormant for the summer, started to regrow, and I pulled it out and I'm just going to get it reoriented now. You can, of course, also do this with, non-growing cloves from a garlic bulb. I just happen to have a lot of garlic that I missed last year. It's kind of amazing that I harvested any, considering how much I missed. Now, I'm just digging a small trench using my favorite tool, the groundhog, and the process is really simple. So here is a clump. This was obviously a garlic bulb. I'm going to just separate the individual cloves apart, and I'm going to lay them in the trench and separate them by about an inch. And I'm just going to do that around the entire edge. I know I say this constantly at this time of year, but this is for multiple reasons. For one thing, we eat a lot of garlic, so it's a really practical plant to grow. Number two, it helps deter in-ground animals, specifically voles. They come up to the garlic edge, they smell that bulb, they don't like it, they turn around and go somewhere else. Number three, the foliage helps deter rabbits and deer. So that above ground smelly foliage basically serves the same purpose as the in-ground smelly bulb. It's also just a really easy winter crop. It's very low maintenance. I'm definitely going to be doing some watering this week, but I think once we get a good rain, I won't have to do any additional irrigating unless we become exceptionally dry. Fingers crossed that will be the case. I have plenty of events planned, so we should be starting to get more consistent rain because that's my superpower. So once I've got these all put into the trench, I will just come back along and cover up the roots just like that, and then give it a good drink. And in the next probably 5 to 7 days, these will really perk up, start growing on their own. All right, so I'm going to sow the blue lupin and some fava beans into this feed tank here. And I have both of them soaking in hot tap water, been in here for about an hour. And the reason I'm putting them here is if we get really cold, this will be a really easy place for me to cover because I've got the cattle fence here that I can just drape protective cover over like Rime. I also wanted to say, remember, I'm doing these videos really early to get so that you guys are thinking about what you want to plant where and getting your beds prepped. After last year's holiday freeze, I'm amending my recommended sow date, and really for zone 7, zone 8, zone 9, I'm recommending really between December 15th and January 30th. Years prior, I always said Black Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving. Everything that I did early last year ended up freezing when we had that sudden temperature drop at the holidays. So I'm sowing this stuff early with a little trepidation, but to make sure that I'm putting it on your radar and so that I have some things to show people when we have our upcoming seed sale in 2 weeks. But really, I want to reiterate that I think later sowing is better because the plants won't be as tender when temperatures do start to get much colder. That was the main issue with last year. Everything that was sown at Thanksgiving time was really tender. When we did get down to 11 degrees, which ordinarily wouldn't have been a problem, it was that physiologically they weren't hardened off. And so every year is going to be different. It's impossible for me to predict the weather patterns, but right now I'm really thinking December 15th is probably the better date. That's still like over a month away. So just remember, you don't have to rush out and do all of this right now. I'm making these videos so that you have some time to get your plan and put it into motion maybe 6 weeks from now. Okay, basically with these, I'm certainly not sewing all of these in here. There's not room for that, but I'm just gonna dump out the water and thumb about 5 or 6 of each in, and then the final step will be to scatter the poppy seeds and water the bed. And then I won't interact in this space for at least another couple of weeks. And remember, the poppy seeds are basically like dust. Let me show you how small they are. And this is part of the reason they really don't need to be covered. They just want to be right on the surface where they have exposure to light, and that will increase their germination rate significantly. Most people, this is the thing they do wrong. They cover their poppy seeds and then they don't have as great of a display. The key with poppies is you sow them last. You don't rake the bed, don't walk them in the bed, and don't mulch the bed once you've sown these seeds. And again, my process is really simple. I just take this handful and I essentially bowl with it so that the seeds scatter really easily, because I don't do any thinning and poppies really don't have a very high success rate for transplanting, which is why I don't recommend starting them in trays and then moving them into the garden. You'll find that you have really significant loss, not only on poppies, but a lot of these other cool season cottage garden seeds, because they develop a taproot. So you're much better off doing this direct seeding method, letting nature take its course and not really interfering once everything starts to germinate. Well, everybody, I hope you'll be inspired by this. Remember, wait a little while longer. It's still really early. I'm only doing this for educational purposes. Ideally, I think this should really be getting done more in December, simply because of the way the climate seems to be right now. So please take this as inspiration and get ready for the upcoming cottage garden season. And be sure to tune in for more videos, as I will continue to share my expert tips after 25 years of doing this, so that all of you can have beautiful spring displays as well. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.